Mia's fingers trembled as she reached for the doorknob, her heart pounding in her chest. The house was quiet, save for the soft ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. She knew Logan would be waiting for her in the study, just as he had been every night for the past week. With a deep breath, she stepped inside. Logan stood by the window, his tall frame silhouetted against the moonlit garden outside. At 45, he was nearly twice her age, but Mia found herself drawn to him in a way she had never experienced before. As he turned to face her, his piercing blue eyes seemed to see right through her. "I wasn't sure you'd come," he said softly, his voice low and husky. Mia swallowed hard. I shouldn't be here," she whispered, even as she took a step closer to him. Logan closed the distance between them, his hand gently cupping her cheek. "But you are here," he murmured, his thumb tracing her lower lip. The touch sent a shiver down Mia's spine. She knew this was wrong. Logan was her best friend's father, a man she had known since childhood. But in the past few months, something had changed between them. What had started as innocent conversations had evolved into lingering glances, subtle touches, and now, this. Mia leaned into his touch, her resolve crumbling. "Logan, we can't." But her words were cut short as Logan's lips met hers in a searing kiss. All thoughts of propriety vanished as Mia melted into his embrace, her hands clutching at his shirt. The kiss deepened, years of pent-up desire pouring out in a single, passionate moment. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. Logan rested his forehead against hers, his eyes closed. "I've wanted to do that for so long," he admitted. Mia's mind was reeling. She had never felt such intense desire, such a profound connection with anyone before. But the reality of their situation came crashing down on her. "What about Sarah?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "She's my best friend, your daughter." Logan stepped back, running a hand through his salt and pepper hair. "I know," he said, his voice heavy with guilt. "I love my daughter, Mia, but I can't deny my feelings for you any longer." Mia turned away, wrapping her arms around herself. The study suddenly felt too small, too intimate. She could still feel the ghost of Logan's lips on hers, the warmth of his body pressed against her. "This is wrong," she said, more to herself than to him. "Is it?" Logan asked, moving to stand behind her. His hands rested lightly on her shoulders. "I've never felt more alive than when I'm with you, Mia. You challenge me, you inspire me, you make me feel things I thought I'd never feel again." Mia closed her eyes, fighting back tears. She thought of Sarah, her friend since college. How could she betray her like this? But then she thought of the past few months, of the long conversations with Logan, the shared laughter, the growing connection between them. It was more than just physical attraction. It was a meeting of minds and souls. "We can't tell anyone," Mia said finally, turning to face Logan. "Not yet. We need to figure this out first." Logan nodded, relief washing over his features. He pulled her into his arms, holding her close. "Well, find a way," he promised. As Mia rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart, she knew their lives would never be the same. They were embarking on a dangerous, thrilling journey, one that could bring them immeasurable joy or devastating heartbreak. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of stolen moments and secret rendezvous. Mia and Logan found every opportunity to be together, their passion for each other growing with each passing day. They met in hidden corners of the city, shared hushed phone calls late at night, and exchanged meaningful glances across crowded rooms when others were present. Mia found herself living a double life. To the outside world, she was still the same hardworking, cheerful young woman. But inside, she was consumed by her feelings for Logan. Every time she saw Sarah, guilt gnawed at her conscience. How could she look her best friend in the eye, knowing she was falling in love with her father? One evening, as they lay tangled in the sheets of a hotel room across town, Logan traced lazy patterns on Mia's bare skin. "I want to tell Sarah," he said suddenly. Mia sat up, clutching the sheet to her chest. "What? Logan, we can't!" Logan propped himself up on one elbow, his expression serious. "I can't keep lying to her, Mia. She deserves to know the truth." "And what about your wife?" Mia asked, her voice trembling. "What about your marriage?" Logan sighed heavily. "Caroline and I, We've been living separate lives for years. She knows our marriage is over. I think she's just been waiting for me to make the first move." Mia felt a mix of emotions wash over her: hope, fear, excitement, and guilt. "But Sarah, she'll hate me," she whispered. Logan pulled her close, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "She might be angry at first," he admitted, "but Sarah loves you, Mia. You're her best friend. In time, she'll understand." Mia wasn't so sure, but she nodded anyway. The weight of their secret was becoming too heavy to bear. Perhaps it was time to face the consequences of their actions. The next day, Logan called a family meeting. Mia paced nervously in her apartment, waiting for news. Hours passed with no word. Just as she was about to call Logan, her phone rang. It was Sarah. "How could you?" Sarah's voice was raw with emotion. "My father, Mia, of all people?" Mia's heart sank. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. We never meant for this to happen. It just did." "I trusted you," Sarah shouted. "You were like a sister to me. And now I don't even know who you are." The line went dead. Mia sank to the floor, tears streaming down her face. She had known this would happen, had dreaded this moment, but the reality was far more painful than she had imagined. Days turned into weeks, and still, Sarah refused to speak to her. Logan called often, assuring Mia that things would get better, that Sarah just needed time. But Mia could hear the strain in his voice, the toll this was taking on him. As the leaves began to change color, signaling the arrival of autumn, Mia found herself standing outside Sarah's apartment building. She had rehearsed what she would say 1,000 times, but now, faced with the moment, all her carefully prepared words deserted her. Sarah opened the door, her eyes widening in surprise. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "I miss you," Mia said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Sarah's expression softened slightly. "I miss you too," she admitted. "But Mia, how could you do this? As my father?" Mia took a deep breath. "I know, and I'm so sorry for hurting you, but Sarah, I love him. It's not just some fling or midlife crisis. What Logan and I have, it's real." Sarah leaned against the doorframe, closing her eyes. "I don't know if I can ever be okay with this," she said softly. "I understand," Mia replied, her heart breaking. "But I hope that someday you can forgive us. You're my best friend, Sarah. I never wanted to lose you." As Mia turned to leave, Sarah called out to her. "Mia, wait!" She hesitated for a moment before continuing. "Do you want to come in? Maybe we could talk." A glimmer of hope bloomed in Mia's chest as she nodded and stepped inside. The road ahead would be long and difficult, but perhaps there was a chance to salvage the most important relationships in her life. Months passed, and slowly, things began to change. Sarah, though still struggling with the idea of her best friend and her father as a couple, made efforts to understand their relationship. Family dinners, once tense and awkward affairs, gradually became more relaxed. Logan's ex-wife, Caroline, surprised everyone with her gracious acceptance of the situation, admitting that she had seen the connection between Logan and Mia long before they had acted on it. As winter gave way to spring, Mia found herself standing in the garden of Logan's home. Now, their home. She watched as Logan laughed with Sarah, the two of them planting new flowers in the beds they had prepared together. The sight filled her heart with joy and a sense of peace she hadn't felt in a long time. Logan looked up, catching her eye. He smiled, that same smile that had first captured her heart, and Mia knew that despite all the challenges they had faced, all the pain and uncertainty, she wouldn't change a thing. Their love, born from a forbidden attraction and tested by the fires of disapproval and guilt, had emerged stronger and more profound than ever. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the garden, Mia joined Logan and Sarah. Sarah handed her a trowel, a small smile playing on her lips. "Here," she said, "you can help plant the roses." Mia took the tool, her eyes filling with tears of gratitude. This was more than just planting flowers. It was a symbol of new beginnings, of forgiveness and acceptance. Logan wrapped an arm around Mia's waist, pulling her close. "I love you," he whispered in her ear. Mia leaned into him, savoring the moment. "I love you too," she replied, her voice full of emotion. As they worked together in the fading light, Mia reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. The passion, the secrecy, the guilt, and the eventual acceptance. It had all led to this moment of quiet happiness. She knew there would be more challenges ahead, more obstacles to overcome. But standing here, surrounded by the two people she loved most in the world, Mia felt ready to face whatever the future might hold. Their love story, unconventional as it was, had taught her the true meaning of forgiveness, the power of honesty, and the strength that comes from fighting for what you believe in. As she planted a rose bush, its delicate buds promising future blooms, Mia silently vowed to nurture this new life they had built together, to cherish every moment, and to never take for granted the precious gift of love she had been given. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. Logan stood up, brushing the dirt from his hands. "I think that's enough for today," he said, looking at their handiwork with satisfaction. Sarah nodded, stretching her back. "It's going to look beautiful when everything blooms," she said, a hint of excitement in her voice. As they gathered their gardening tools, Mia felt a surge of affection for both of them. This simple act of planting a garden together felt like a metaphor for their relationship, cultivating something beautiful from the rich, sometimes messy soil of their lives. Later that evening, after Sarah had gone home, Mia and Logan sat on the porch swing, watching the stars come out. Logan's arm was draped around her shoulders, and Mia leaned into him, savoring his warmth. "Do you ever regret it?" Mia asked softly, voicing a question that had lingered in the back of her mind for months. Us, I mean, all the complications it caused. Logan was quiet for a moment, his fingers tracing gentle patterns on her arm. "No," he said finally, his voice firm. "It hasn't been easy, and I hate that we hurt people along the way. But loving you, Mia, it's the most real thing I've ever experienced. I could never regret that." Mia tilted her head up to look at him, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. She thought about the roller coaster of emotions they had been through, the initial thrill of their forbidden attraction, the guilt and fear as they tried to hide their feelings, the pain of hurting those they loved, and finally, the joy of being able to love each other openly. "I don't regret it either," she whispered, reaching up to caress his cheek. "But I do wish we had handled things differently, been more honest from the start." Logan nodded, turning to press a kiss to her palm. "We can't change the past," he said, "but we can learn from it, and I think we have." Mia smiled, snuggling closer to him. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, listening to the chirping of crickets and the rustle of leaves in the gentle night breeze. "I've been thinking," Logan said suddenly, his voice taking on a nervous edge that Mia rarely heard, "about our future." Maya's heart skipped a beat. "Oh?" she said, trying to keep her voice casual. Logan shifted, turning to face her fully. In the soft glow of the porch light, Mia could see a mix of emotions playing across his face: love, hope, and a touch of anxiety. "Mia," he began, taking her hands in his, "these past months have been the happiest of my life. Despite all the challenges, all the ups and downs, being with you has made me feel more alive than I ever thought possible." Mia felt tears pricking at her eyes as Logan continued. "I know our relationship didn't start in the most conventional way," he said with a small chuckle. "But I've never been more certain of anything in my life. I love you, Mia. I want to spend the rest of my days with you if you'll have me." With that, Logan slid off the porch swing, kneeling before her. From his pocket, he produced a small velvet box. Mia's breath caught in her throat as he opened it, revealing a beautiful diamond ring. "Mia Thompson," Logan said, his voice filled with emotion. "Will you marry me?" For a moment, Mia was speechless. She looked at the man kneeling before her, the man who had turned her world upside down, who had loved her through the storm of disapproval and guilt, who had fought alongside her to build a life together. In his eyes, she saw their future, filled with love, laughter, and the promise of forever. "Yes," she whispered, tears of joy streaming down her face. "Yes, Logan, I'll marry you." Logan's face broke into a radiant smile as he slipped the ring onto her finger. He stood, pulling Mia into his arms and kissing her deeply. In that kiss was every stolen moment, every secret touch, every whispered promise that had led them to this point. As they broke apart, both laughing and crying, Mia felt a sense of completion she had never known before. Their journey had been far from easy, but it had brought them here to this perfect moment of love and commitment. "I love you," Mia said, her voice filled with wonder and joy. "And I love you," Logan replied, holding her close. "Always." As they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms under the starry sky, Mia knew that this was just the beginning of their story. There would be more challenges to face, more obstacles to overcome, but together she and Logan could weather any storm. Their love, born from a forbidden attraction and tempered by trials, had blossomed into something beautiful and enduring. And as Mia looked towards the future, she felt nothing but excitement for the chapters yet to be written in their unconventional, passionate, and ultimately triumphant love story.